Hi guys, it's Erin from Ginger's Florals. Today we have a bit of a marathon seed starting day. All of these packets and all of these trays are getting filled. I actually have some more that need to be direct sowed beyond just what's here, but I'm not going to get to those today. It's a rainy, miserable kind of day. So we're going to spend it in the greenhouse. So I just want to walk through all the different can you hear the rain? I just want to walk through all the different flowers that we're going to start today, some flowers, some foliage, and talk through any specific seed starting requirements that they may have. And then we're just going to tear into it because I have 18 trays sitting there needing to be filled, which is a lot. I do also want to give you a quick just look at the greenhouse. This guy, I have a couple, I think I have just enough space. I have a couple of rows there, shelves there, a couple shelves over there, and a couple small pieces or parts of shelves that are open. But the rest of the greenhouse is full. Every last bit is full. And look at this. How sweet is that flower? Beautiful little anemone. Okay, let's go through all the different seeds that we're going to start today. All right, I'm excited about this. We're starting some of our warmer season crops. I'll have a video out in another week probably of all the March seeds that we're going to start, though not as many different types of flowers, higher volume of each, and they're definitely all the summer flowers. I'm going to start with basil. We have a couple different types of basil that I'm going to grow. The first is aromato. I think that's how you say it. It's a really pretty basil plant that has sort of a darker coloring than you would typically see from like a Italian basil, but it has really long stems. It does beautifully in our gardens. So these guys, so this one is a really good, it has an interesting flavor, it's basil, right? It has an interesting scent. It does not smell like your regular Genovese basil. It's more spicy, at least to my senses, but it's really good. The other one that we're going to start is the Mrs. Burns Lemon Citrus. I've talked about this one a whole bunch of times. I absolutely adore the scent. I want to just grow, and actually I might grow a bunch of this just to have in my personal gardens so that I can just walk by and smell it as much as I want to. It's a bit of a lighter color, more on that chartreusey green side than the aromato. This one, like I said, this is kind of darker green with some like burgundy in it, and this one is very, very green. Both are good. The lemon citrus is definitely my favorite, but they both play a really good role in summertime bouquets. They add that scent when you don't have it from the flowers mostly. They're both really super easy to start from seed, nothing special. 1/4 inch deep, cover them. They do want to be warm because they're a warm season plant. So I will put these on a seed mat or a heat mat, excuse me, and just make sure that they stay moist. There's nothing else about them that's difficult. They're really super easy. The next seeds we're going to start is lemon mint. It's a bee balm. This one is also another scented foliage. It does have flower spikes on the top, and you can use them as filler. I use it more in the foliage realm, but filler flower works great too. The scent is fantastic. To me, it has less of a mint, more of a oregano or that kind of herby scent. It's really great. It'll get, 3.5 feet tall and put out loads of stems. This one is called lemon mint. That scent, yeah, I don't get lemon and mint from it. I get more herby than that for sure. But this is a really great one. If you haven't tried growing bee balm before, I highly recommend it. It grows really well, especially in our zone, and it takes up a good amount of space in a bouquet, and it's beautiful. So the next thing that I'm going to start today is celosia. I have this one that's new to me. It's called Shimmer. It's from Johnny's. It's a mix of pastel-y colors, pinks and yellows and apricot-y colors. I think it's really pretty, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it does. It's a plume type celosia. And then I also have some leftover seeds from last season that I want to start from florets. This one is called Dusty Rose, and this one is called Pink Chenille. But the colors and the shape are really interesting, and I'm hopeful that doing more wedding work, this is more along the lines of wedding type florists or florals, as opposed to just the plumes, which are great, but they're more for my market customers, I think, than the floral design. The market customers get real confused when they see these brain sort of shapes in their bouquets. They don't know what to think of it. I think they're beautiful, and I love the colors. So those are getting started today. These guys, so for celosia, light is required for these. So I'm gonna top sow or surface sow them. You can do a light layer of vermiculite on the top of them and just keep them warm, and make sure you check on all the surface sown type flowers. You need to check on more often to make sure that they don't dry out. But yeah, that's the only consideration for these when you're starting them from seed, is to make sure that they need light, so make sure that you surface sow them and water them in. They do want to be warm. They're a warm season annual, so if you have heat mats, use them. My greenhouse is staying in the 60s, close to 70 if the sun comes out, so some of them will go on heat mats and some will not. The next seeds that I'm going to start are my asters. These guys, I've said it before, but I'm going to go in a little bit more on this type of flower this year. I'm going to do a whole 40-foot row of them, and I'm only going to do a few different varieties. I'm going to do this Tower Chamois. It's a apricot, peachy beige sort of color. The Souffle Light Pink, which is new to me, but I'm looking forward to it. The Lady Coral Lavender, those soft lavender-y type colors go really well with everything, and I'm looking forward to this one. And then I have Tower Aster Silver. This is it's basically a white, and again, this is more for my wedding work and my wholesale. These guys, in the past for me, I've had some struggles with them. They don't like the rain. They don't like the rain when we get it in the middle of summer. They're a little more delicate, but the flowers themselves are such an interesting shape and such a long-lasting bloom for me if they're treated right, that I think it's worth it to grow them. And they're different than what most people are used to seeing at a farmer's market. Many of them have sort of a chrysanthemum-like growth habit. The shape, they look like chrysanthemums. But either way, I like them, and we're going to grow a 40-foot row of them, so I'm going to do 4 trays of these. These also don't have any real special requirements. 1/8 inch deep, cover them over, water them in, and they also want to be kept relatively warm, though they can be slightly cooler than, say, the celosia or the basil in the 60s, and they'll be just fine. So these probably won't go on a heat mat for me. But yeah, asters, lots of beautiful colors, and if I wind up with fewer seeds than I think, some of these I think have been opened, I may grab another variety or two and give them a shot. The next one is Agrostemma. I actually have a bunch of these in the house. I save seeds from. They're really easy to save seed. But these are just a delicate little white bloom that just kind of floats. It's a cool flower. It grows quickly in the early spring, and when it blooms, they're just really soft. They remind me of like a ballet dancer's skirt, or they're just really soft and fluttery. They're beautiful in a bouquet, and they're the sparkle element that I talk about in my bouquet recipes, that they can just float on top of a bouquet and draw your eye in. I love these so much. So I'm going to do 1 tray of these. The next one is Honeywort. I actually plan to do 2 trays of Honeywort or Sorrent. I've talked about this one before in that it's such a interesting foliage plant to grow. It has so many different colors built into the same plant. The stem and the leaves can be sort of grass green all the way to sort of a silvery blue color. And then the tiny little flowers that it creates, they'll have gold on the very back side of them, and then they turn to purple, almost plum color. They're just so much fun. They're beautiful, and they grow really well. You can get good long stems out of them, and they're just a much more interesting foliage than a lot of what's out there. So I love to grow these, and I save these seed every year. Once you have them, the seeds themselves are pretty expensive the first time you buy them, but once you have them, just let a few of them go all the way to seed and collect the seed, and it's definitely worth it. I have a video, I think, that I have done. I did do a video last year on how to collect the seed. I highly, highly recommend it. Save yourself a little bit of money, and it's really easy to do. There's nothing special about these for seed starting. You just make holes in your cell trays, bury it. You do want it to be covered, damp it down, just like everything else. They don't need to be hot. These will actually self-seed out in my field in the zone 8. So occasionally that'll happen, but generally they don't need to be warm. They can be in the 60s and be perfectly content, and they will sprout. Okay, next up is the Mahogany Splendor Hibiscus, is red leaf hibiscus. These are such a cool plant. They get, they can be 4 foot, working on 5 foot high by the end of a season. They don't, they're not really usable for me until the end of the season, so September, October. But once they get there, they're absolutely worth it. These are such a neat plant. If you want to grow these, if you live in a place where like Japanese maples have a hard time, these guys look very much like a Japanese maple. They love the heat. They want all the sun. And they're such delicate leaves that they really do. They look like maples, and they're fantastic. These are one of my only foliages that are still going at the end of the season. These don't have any specifics on whether they need light or darkness, but they do. The directions will tell you to put them, cover them lightly with soil when you sow the seed, and then just keep them moist like everything else. These will do better if you use a big 50 count tray with the deep cells. I don't have any more. I've used them all up, but they will do, it would be good to do that if you have the opportunity, or just sow them into 2-inch pots, because you don't want to put these out until after the last frost, and they can get pretty big pretty quick. But I'm going to do my best with just a 72 count. These get planted out quite wide. I think I do 12 or 18 inches apart, so you don't need a whole lot of them for a lot of stems from them. The next category is Statice. Normally I would do a whole row of Statice and a whole row of Strawflower, but this year I've decided to do a half a row of each. I love them all. The Strawflower and the Statice, they put out enough stems off of each plant that I don't actually need to give up as much space. Any one Statice plant can give you 25, 30 or so stems of flowers over the season. And my Strawflowers, man, they just keep going all the way until hard frost. They don't slow down at all. So I've decided to cut back on the volume and just go with the varieties and the colors that I know that will be good. So Statice, my biggest amount is going to be apricots. I have a couple different varieties of them, but Apricot Beauty and QIS Apricot, that's going to be a big chunk of the amount of Statice that I grow. They're just great. They go with everything. They're beautiful. They dry the same color. They're really fantastic. I'm going to grow some Seeker White and Forever Silver. Those are both whites and pale white and pale lavendery blue sort of colors, so very cool and calm. And then I also have a Johnny's Formula Mix packet that I haven't decided yet if I'm going to start any. This has really bright colors, the bright blue, the bright purple, the bright yellow, and it's really great for market bouquets, but not so useful for floristry or wholesale. But I'll probably start a tray of them just because I want to make sure to be able to cater to both customers. And then the last one is this Limonium suawarii or rat tail Statice. I grew some of these last year. These are super fun to grow. They don't do so well. They don't do the same production of stems as the other type of Statices will. I'll get one good flush and then that was about it last year. But they're still fun to grow, so I will definitely have some of these going. To sow these seeds, these also require light to germinate. They don't require, but it definitely helps. So I will surface sow all of these. I might cover them with vermiculite again, and then put them under the lights. They don't need to be super warm either, so I won't necessarily take the space under or on my heat mats. But they're super easy to grow. Just make sure that you surface sow them. And speaking of Strawflower is the next one that I'm going to do. I have several varieties that I'm likely not going to grow, but the one main one, like the Statice, is an apricot. I have apricot peach, which, again, just like the Statice, it's completely universal, goes with everything, so I'm going to give that one the most space in the garden. I'm also going to grow a silvery rose, which is a very soft, pale pink, white flower that does well in wedding work, and I plan to use it in that capacity. And then I do want to grow a little bit of a bright color. I have a bright rose, a purple red, and a copper red. And I'll probably just do a small portion that have those in them, and those will be likely mostly for my market bouquets. That bright rose is so fun. It's just like it says. It's a bright pink color. So Strawflower, like the Statice, they also prefer or require light to germinate. So again, we're going to surface sow and then put them under the lights. They don't need to be super warm. They do germinate preferably at 70 degrees, but I have a heater over there that keeps that corner of my greenhouse quite warm. So that's where they will stay. Otherwise, they're super easy to grow. I have never had any issue getting germination from these guys. It's so much fun. There's so many colors. Strawflowers are one of the best dried flowers. They're classic. They're on everybody's list for dried flowers. And you can just pull the heads off. You can cut them deep and they'll keep putting out stems. And for me, they literally put stems out until the end of the season, like fully continuous, and it's the best. Okay, Strawflower. We only have a couple more types that we're going to grow. So the next one is Ammi, or white dill. So this particular variety, and actually the next one too, these require a cold stratification period. So this has been in my freezer for the last several weeks now, waiting for its turn to get sown. Ammi is it's a really beautiful, tall, shimmery sort of. It almost reminds me of Dara, or it's a wild carrot. It's the umbels of white flowers. They sort of mimic what a baby's breath might do in an old-fashioned type of bouquet. But my only hard part is I struggle with exactly when to harvest them, but we're going to perfect it this year. That's just what's going to happen. These are super easy to grow also. I could probably just scatter the seed out in the edges of my garden and get plenty of Ammi. It will self-seed for me. The directions will tell you, if you're reading the back of the seed packet, the directions will tell you that to direct sow is probably the most recommended. But I'm not going to do that. We've talked about it lots before. I have too many birds, too many critters. I don't have really good luck with direct sowing a lot of things, but so I'm going to do one tray, just one tray of these. They don't need anything special to grow. I'll probably bury them about 1/8 of an inch deep, if that. Water them in, put them under the lights. They prefer to be cool, so I'll put them further away from the heat source in here than everything else, and they'll be pretty happy. And the last one that I have is shiso. I don't have full trays worth of seed, so I might share some space with another plant. But shiso, if you haven't seen it, I mean, it's a green that a lot of you'll find in Asian cooking, and it smells really good. The coloring is beautiful, big leaves that are just beautiful. And if you cut them at the right time, when the stems have sort of hardened up, they make fantastic cut foliage for your bouquets. Again, this one, like the Ammi, would tell you that direct sowing is the best method, but I'm going to grow them inside. They do need light to germinate, like so many others of these. So surface sow, barely cover with vermiculite, water them in, and put them under the lights. Like I said, they do need light to germinate, so make sure that you do that. Okay, now that we have gone through everything and all the different types and varieties that we're going to grow, it's time to start doing the actual work. There's 18 trays that I need to fill. So I'm just going to set up a camera, get through it all, and then we'll take a look when it's all done. Crazy. All right, we got all of those trays sown. We filled up both of these racks, except for those two little spots. And like I said earlier, all the rest of the benches are full, save for my work benches. So we're very, we're very close to being completely full, and again, moving stuff out. I did move out the ranunculus. I've moved out all the biennials and the snapdragons. So we did clear up some room, but my goodness, there's a lot here. So much. Okay, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this. It was a marathon for me. I'm, again, super excited this time of year. It just keeps getting better. Every week that I have a new round of seeds to start just makes me that much more excited about the season to come. That's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.